podcast community. My name is Cam King with CK Collective. This is Three Questions Podcast, episode number 46. Today, I have a very special guest, Raphi Salem. Raphi, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
Awesome. I know we have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. We just worked on a few questions ourselves. And again, this podcast is mostly for people listening that are starting their own business or running their own business and can get sort of takeaways from experienced entrepreneurs, experienced business people, and people who are doing very, very big things such as yourself. So why don't you give us a little rundown about who you are and what you're doing right now, and then we'll jump into the questions after.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been in business for 25 years, started up in 1997, as I like to tell my groups, before any of you were born. 1997 was an interesting year. Yahoo and Excite and Alta Vista ran the internet airwaves, shall we say. Google was not a thing in 1997. So it was a very exciting time. Also, I was a domain name maniac, and that's probably available, Domaniac. I would get an idea and I would buy a domain name relevant to what I thought would make money and be a business. And I would say 80-20 rule, 80% of the domain names that I bought were garbage, but 20% were pretty good. So everything internet, e-commerce, pre-Google, it was a wild, wild west of a time. It was very exciting and opportunity was boundless. Perhaps the people that are listening or seeing this heard of pets.com. Pets.com was one of the biggest internet Wall Street darlings. They had a whole whopping $50 million invested in them. And then when the crash came, they went belly flop. So I'm very, very happy to announce that I've been in business for longer than pets.com without a $50 million investment.
I love that. We're definitely going to get into especially how that's been beneficial for you over the years. And again, we can make this a back and forth, a dialogue, but from our last conversation, you have so many incredible stories. So do you want to quickly talk about what you're doing now other than caching all of these domain names?
Sure. So I was probably one of the worst web developers in 1997 through 2002, shall we say. But that was my bread and butter. I was building low-end HTML websites. And the reason why I can proudly say that I was one of the worst is because A, I am not a graphic designer, and B, I am not a programmer. I'm not a computer programmer, and I'm not an artist. I'm a psychologist with a psychology background in industrial organizational psychology with a concentration in media, marketing, and advertising. And prior to me realizing that I should have been in digital marketing from the very beginning, I was trying to build websites. Fast forward 25 years, shall we say, I am, as we say, staying in my lane. So my digital marketing agency, Salem Digital Marketing, is rocking and rolling, mainly with search engine optimization, pay-per-click, and Google advertising. And our secret sauce, now for everyone to hear, is remarketing. Without remarketing, if you're doing any form of digital marketing, whether it's email marketing, video marketing, or anything, without remarketing, you're literally throwing away your ad budget.
I completely agree. That is not my expertise per se. However, I know experts that are doing what you're doing as well. And you guys are absolute magicians when it comes to that stuff. I don't know how you guys do it, but it's mind blowing. And it's really, it's the backbone of the internet, right? All of that retargeting and remarketing stuff is incredibly powerful. So if you're an expert in that, kudos to you, because that will never, ever go away. That said, are you ready to jump into some of the questions and elaborate on some of these things? Okay, so I'll set my timer again. When you're getting to 4 minutes, whatever, you don't feel like you have to fill up all 5 of the questions. If you want to make it dialogue based, we can, but you're here to share your expertise. So question number 1, late 2019, 2020, 2021 was a crazy time in the world for everybody. I don't think I'm allowed to say the C word for YouTube purposes. However, you mentioned that this time period completely changed your business. For many people, it was a tumultuous time. A lot of people pivoted, but how specifically did that time period change your business for the better?
Thank you. So we talked in the intro regarding how I was a visionary in the late 90s. I started up a digital agency. We built websites and got into marketing before Google told us what SEO was. And I had been working on community. Number one, I'm a very, very big member or traditional member of my community. So I had a lot of leads coming from friends and from friends of friends and colleagues of colleagues. Everything really started drying up, I would say, into 2010 through 2015. It was a wasteland. There was a lot of competition. Everyone was a Google expert. Everyone was an SEO expert. And before the C word, shall we say, as I like to tell people, I don't know if you heard this, but there was a global pandemic that happened around 2020. My business had basically died. My leads stopped coming in. My business was not generating anything on the internet, whereas we used to be number one. If you were to look up website marketing in New York in the early 2000s, my company was on the top page of Google. All that had dried up through the years. And then we're all hunkering down in our homes and on Zoom. Who heard of Zoom before that global pandemic hit? And a friend of mine and a colleague of mine said, "Hey, Raphi, would you like to join a mastermind?" And first I immediately said, I am too busy. But no, you can't use that excuse because everyone was at home. So there's no such thing as busy. The only thing other people were busy at were they were in their kitchens making sourdough bread. But if you're a digital marketer like me, you use that time creatively to build up your websites, to figure out different ways of reaching people in their homes. When my friend and colleague asked me to join his mastermind, I was also skeptical because I had been part of networking groups for the past 20 years. That's how people met people. And that's how business got done. You don't sell to companies, you sell to people. And you don't work with companies, you work with people who work at companies. So Zoom and the environment lent itself to not only networking online, but also rethinking how you do business. And there were three things that I learned that hadn't been apparent to me. So I wrote my business plan in 1997, and I didn't look at that business plan again until the year 2020. That was the first thing in my mastermind, that I wasn't planning on doing anything to help my business, and without planning, you're going nowhere. So there are a lot of analogies. The analogy that I like to use is that I'm a scuba diver. And in scuba diving, you plan your dive and then you dive your plan. And what's the one word within the word dive that can happen if you don't dive your plan? You can die. That is the word. And in business, if you don't plan your business and then work according to that plan, your business is going to die. And that's exactly what happened to my business. I had a plan. I didn't stick to it. Every day I would wake up and wonder what I was going to do. Mastermind got me organized with planning. First, 30-day planning, next, quarterly planning or 90-day planning, and then annual planning. And even more of a challenge was planning out my business 15 years in the future. Where do you want to be in 15 years? Anyway, planning is the number one thing. The number two thing is accountability. Everyone has to be accountable for what they do. Can we pause for a moment?
Yeah, of course. You're at 5 minutes, but go for it.
All right. Thanks, guys. So after accountability, you need to find someone that is going to work with you and not only just say, hey, why didn't you do that? Or what was on your business plan, but also let me help you get that done. So it's a planning, accountability, and helping others. And as we all know, the more people that you help, the more people will help you.
I totally
finally,
go ahead.
Who are your champions? Every single business person does not get to where they are alone. Everyone needs partners, champions, and other people, professional colleagues, to help them along the way. Identifying your champions will change your life. And that's what happened to me.
I love that. You said a couple of things that I'm going to take clips on when this does go on YouTube, but that's fantastic. I couldn't agree more. I think that so many people will not plan out their business or their side project, and they just end up drifting. This happens to me, and I have to be even more rigid than I typically am with this, but I find myself drifting, and sometimes I don't write down what I need to do the next day, the night before, and when I don't do that, the next day is haywire, as I'm sure you've experienced and we've all experienced. So very diligent point there. I want to jump into question number 2, which piggybacks off of what you were just talking about. But you run a mastermind group, and I would love to know, how specifically can these kinds of groups benefit other people, and what specifically do they get out of it? How do they even get into this sort of thing?
So as I said in question number 1, a lot of people network. There are networks out there up the wazoo. You can find every hour of the day, 24/7, a networking group that starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then there are afternoon lunches you can go to. And then there are evening drinks and dinners that you can go to. None of that matters if you want to get down to not working in your business, but on your business. So we all talk about business development. What does business development mean to you? Well, we've identified over 35 elements at City Mastermind. We've basically figured out the formula that if you can figure out these over 30 elements, that will help you move your business forward, you will succeed. It all starts out with planning, as we said before, 30-day, 90-day, and annual planning, and even going so far as to speak about 15-year planning. But there's a lot more that goes into it. Your website. If you don't have a website, where are you sending people? Now, you might have a web page or a LinkedIn page, but you need a receptacle for lead generation. You need to have calls to action. And then that leads into, what's your marketing plan? And then the subset of your marketing plan is, what's your social media plan? What's your video plan? What's your podcast plan? What's your business development plan? And then beyond that, as you can see, we're getting deeper and deeper. What's your exit strategy? Are you just planning on working every day? Are you planning on taking a vacation ever? Are you planning on seeing your family and your loved ones ever? You have to plan things out. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants. Maybe in the past you were able to, but that is the number one thing at City Mastermind. Every single week, we are going beyond what you get in a networking group. We are putting together professionals. In my vision is to have within the next 15 years a mastermind in every city, not only in the United States but globally. And basically, how can you get there? Well, citymastermind.com is number one. But I'd like to think that if you don't have that guideline to running your own mastermind, try to get into someone else's mastermind. It is a step beyond your regular networking group. We specifically meet 2 days a week now, Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. But there will be more chapters that will be opening up over the course of the next year.
I think, what is it? The sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with is who you become. And there's so many good quotes. Obviously, it's 2:30, so my brain is starting to teeter off. But I love the quote that talks about you being in the right or the wrong room. And if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the dumbest guy in the room, you're in the right room. Yeah. And I constantly, having worked in new business for a long time, I would go to many of these networking luncheons or dinner or drinks, or even the breakfast. Boston, there was like 1,000 of them at all hours of the day. And I would just ask people questions. And when people invest in you, I think that makes you a commodity to them, right? They're telling you about their business, you're learning more about them. And I think that is the foundation for building business relationships. And whether you're looking to join a mastermind group, like you said, it's not about selling to a business, but it's about creating relationships with people so that you can sell later, right? Because then the people are going to say, hey, I know that guy. I like that guy. I trust that guy. And I would buy from that guy. That's typically how the process goes. Would you agree?
Yeah, in all of my talking about masterminds and networking and relationships, you hit upon it just now. The T word, trust. You don't do business with people you don't trust. You meet someone at a networking group. You might develop a relationship with that person. You might learn something that you've never learned about them before. Ultimately, it's someone that you trust. You might enjoy someone's company, but you might not trust them. They might be the life of the party, but you don't necessarily trust them. When you find that trustworthy individual and colleague, that's when you do business. One specific example is my virtual assistant agency. I work with a VA agency, and I said to the president of the company, I said, I get solicited by a VA company every single day. What makes you unique? And why would I go with you? A lot of these people are not trustworthy and responsible. And he said, let me prove it to you by showing up. And that's another thing that that we talk about all the time. You can't develop a relationship or trust without showing up. So show up, develop a relationship, develop trust, and you will be doing business.
That's something I've never heard before, but that is very wise. Showing up, foundation of building trust. Show up when somebody calls you, show up when somebody needs you, show up when you say you're going to be there, right? Keep your word, keep your word to yourself and to others. That I need to write that down after this podcast. Raphi, question number 3. And this is a really good one because I know for a fact a lot of my clients that I work with on just mentoring and accountability and personal coaching that focuses on that sort of intersection of business and life. If you were an entrepreneur today, what would you do and how would you begin?
I love this question because it dawned on me through the past year of City Mastermind that I started out with a list of 10 to 15 things that every business needs. And then it grew to 20, 25, 30, 35. And one of the things I love about this job and this world that we live in is that you can think of an idea, buy a domain name, and start a business the same exact day that you do all that. The other thing you can do is start up an organization. And mentoring is something that is somewhat new to my thought process in City Mastermind. In City Mastermind, I was thinking, it's all about you, it's all about you, it's all about you. One of my mentors says, it's never about you. The first rule of marketing is that it's never about you. And the second rule of marketing is that it's never about you. So just like we say in retail, location, location, location. In marketing, it's never about you. In sales, it's never about you. It's about the problem you solve and for whom. That's it. It has nothing to do with you. Because if you don't have a UVP or a USP, a unique value proposition or a unique selling proposition, it's not going to matter anyway. Moving backwards just a little bit, the way that you learn things is not in school and not by working. You want to speed track that by having a mentor. So over the past year, I not only started up City Mastermind, but I started up startupandwin.com, which is for startups, which has an element of matching up mentors with mentors who have already started up startups and successfully either ran their startups into businesses and or exited. Number two is Champion Crowd, which is a list and directory of people that aren't just your average networkers who might be really nice people, and I'm saying that very neutrally, but people that can help you advance your business and move it forward. Number three, mentorvibes.com. I just bought that domain name last month because it hit me. You can fast track everything we're doing. I've been in business for 25 years. If I would have listened to my mentors, I would have fast tracked that 20. I would have been a little more successful than I am now. But here's the catch. Don't just have a mentor, be a mentor to someone else. Seek out being a mentor to someone else. Don't just take, which you should, I am advising, but also give. So receive knowledge from your mentor, find a mentor, receive knowledge from that mentor, and then pay it forward.
100%. I feel like specifically, not only in your case, but also from a personal experience, me being a mentor and an accountability coach and just working on so many different things with small business owners and people who are trying to get that intersection. I keep coming back to that core concept because that's the foundation of my business. But being a mentor, accountability coach, whatever you want to call it, consultant, has made me a better person. And I've worked with mentors that have totally gotten me from like plateau A to like plateau Z. And I just made leaps and bounds in such a short amount of time. And I just signed up for a few other mentorship things, like one's on day trading, and now I'm doing a whole e-commerce mentorship thing. And it's all areas that I could probably learn that in a year or two. But if I can condense that growth into 3 or 4 months, that is really how you jump to the next level of your life faster. And I totally agree. Get a mentor, be a mentor, because we all have things that we can learn and share and teach each other. And I don't think there's a better way to go about it. That's why there's so many coaches out there doing so many different things. Right. And I think that's like the new wave of entrepreneurship and, the sharing of knowledge. But I think that's great, Raphi.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
No, we'll have to get you on. I know that was the end of question number 3, but how can people get a hold of you? How can people stay in touch with you, connect with you? Why don't you give us the sort of lowdown there?
Sure. Well, one of the things that I advise to everyone is ownyourowndomainname.com. So I own RaphiSalem.com. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Otherwise, I have a pretty unique name and a unique spelling of my name. So if you Google me, I'm a reputation management expert. So I have curated my Google results. And yes, they can be curated. If you're seeing any negativity or something you don't like when you Google yourself, let's have a conversation. But yes, Google is number one, RaphiSalem.com, number two, LinkedIn, number three, my website for City Mastermind is citymastermind.com. My corporate website is salemglobal.com. And all roads lead to Rome. So that's it.
I completely agree there. I have searched canking.com a few times. That domain is available. In the past, it brought me to some very X-rated websites. So I might have to take your advice on that and go do that right now. However, let's get you back on the podcast soon. Again, this is episode 46, and I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your bit of knowledge here. So stay in touch, don't be a stranger, and I'll send you everything else that we have after. Everyone, if you're listening, I'll put all the links for Raphi down below if you want to connect with him. I think he's doing amazing things. And yes, thanks for hopping on. Much appreciated.
Right. Thanks again. Have a great day.